I'm Charles-Albert Lehalle. I'm professor here at École Polytechnique in applied math, and especially at the crossing of machine learning and financial markets. And I've been very pleased to have been invited to the High Paris Summer School 2025. I think that the most interesting added value of AI and machine learning to financial markets is the way it helps to structure data sets. Indeed, when you think about satellite images, credit card data, interactions between people and companies, or even maritime traffic, and text, of course, it's something that is unstructured, meaning that you cannot put it as a tabular data, like in an Excel spreadsheet. With machine learning, and especially with the rise of embeddings-based methods, now you can store more or less accurate version of this data in vector-based, and then you can compare, because the cosine or the angle between two of these vectors makes sense. It means that you can compare the quarterly reports of companies, you can compare the two image satellites before and after something happened, like a wildfire or something like that. So this idea of structuring data that were impossible to work with a quantitative view or mathematical view is really the big added value of ML and AI in finance. This idea of automation versus more mature or more open to retail investor is a very important question. I am part of the scientific committee of the French regulator, the AMF, and clearly the protection of individual investor is an important mission. And so what I think immediately when I see the large language models is the capability to teach and educate better retail people to the financial ecosystem in general. Today it's very difficult to have information, and there is like a very strange conclusion is that when you've got on the website of a company a PDF file on describing financial products, either you know already the product and it's not interesting, either you don't know and it's too complicated. We can have the hope that with a dialogue, using an LLM like ChatGPT or I don't know, something like that, having a dialogue with a knowledge about financial investment, and I'm not talking only as about retailer as individual investors, but if you think about pension funds, the representative of the pensioners, if they are more educated in terms of financial knowledge, they could put a very positive pressure on asset managers, on banks, and the system will evolve very positively. So I think that the question, I will reposition the question around education, and there is a lot of hope with LLMs on education. Trying to capture risk and to understand future risk using machine learning is a very important aspect of what can be done. Because after all, what we can automate and what we can think as mathematicians is the risk. And so how can you do that? It's more or less clear than having insight in terms of real data on what is happening on the ground, like I was saying, like disruption of the supply chain, is not in the past data. So if you use simply past correlations between the returns of financial instruments, you will never understand, never being able to predict a future risk that nevertheless is very easy to express on the supply chain. So using alternative data, using machine learning to try to infer a supply chain and build risk around tools around risk with that would be very useful. There are a lot of bias in this data, and I would say there are two kinds of bias. The first one, that as soon as you know it, there are already old books about how to manage this, is the collection bias. When you collect data, you've got blind spots. Statisticians know very well how to handle that. It's called post-stratification in general, and survey theory provides a lot of tools. The one that is more difficult and more subtle to handle is what I call the targeting risk, the targeting bias. It is that indeed when you map the data you have on companies or on financial instruments, For instance, you can easily imagine that if you work with credit card data, you've got only the tickets of the credit cards, and the digits or the names of the companies that are on this, if you got yourself these tickets, you will see that it's not completely clear what financial instrument, what listed company we are talking about. So missing this mapping may create blind spots and will focus you on the most liquid and common companies where there are not a lot of risks to manage indeed, because it's already easy to manage the risk for these companies. So this bias is very important to focus on, is how to be able to map the information you have on less liquid companies. What I've experienced in my life, in my professional life before joining academia, is that each time you've got a successful asset manager, it's a group with a very strong culture. And so that is a way these people are working together, accept to challenge positively themselves, to share negative knowledge when they fail, and to progress collectively to understand better the risks, how to anticipate different scenarios. And when you've got this strong culture, somehow there is a drawback, that is that you will look at academic results only in the direction of your own culture. So it will be difficult for you to go outside. And so you take two groups that are two different cultures, they will miss or they will not look carefully enough to two different kinds of literatures. So somehow there is a uniform usage of the literature and the academic results by asset managers and banks in general, so there is no blind spot. But if you look at one bank or one asset manager, they are only using maybe 1/3, or if they are lucky, 1/2 of the available literature. And that is what maybe in terms of education at École Polytechnique or with the summer school, that the one that we have today, we can try to educate younger people, to expose them to more literature, more angles, so that when they come back to the company they work in, or when they are hired afterwards, they will have a better view of all the possibilities and the positive view of where to put effort to try to succeed. What I hear in your question is at the frontier between AI and finance. And I think that machine learning and AI is exactly that, a technology or set of methodology that are efficient at the interface. So therefore, you need to have use case and to give a meaning to what you want to do with AI. So I will recommend to students to understand better financial markets. Of course, simultaneously to learn about machine learning in general, to have a good culture and to specialize in some algorithms they will be very good at. Nevertheless, it will not help them if they do not understand a few key elements of financial markets. And the one that they can start with is the price formation process. How, when you've got information, people are taking decisions regarding this information, and then they go on exchanges, financial place, marketplace, and they exchange this kind of opinion, and it forms price. This is a big mystery that we don't understand perfectly. There is a lot of literature, and on these angles, they can find a way to be attracted and to be passionate by one of the aspects of this price formation process that will guide them and go in a company to work within this direction, using things of machine learning tools, algorithms that they learned beforehand.